Oral questions, questions orales. L'honorable député.
The honourable member for Mégantic, l'érable Lotbinière. While families struggle to pay groceries every month, this Liberal Prime Minister continues to max out the national credit card to fund one scandal after another. $300 million wasted on prescribed IT, $200 million for launch pad on lands that cost lease for practically nothing, $742 million to take firearms away from law-abiding hunters. The result? Higher costs, higher taxes, more debt, more inflation. Gas prices have jumped 28.6%. Grocery costs continue to squeeze families. When will this Liberal Prime Minister stop his credit card-fueled budgets? The Honourable Government House Leader, Mr. Speaker, early this morning, before this member or others even rose, that Canada announced that we are back in the business of making military jets. We have announced we're going to be making exports in LNG towards Europe. These are incredible partnerships with Europe. These are incredible partnerships that will create jobs here in Canada and opportunities. And that is how we will build this country. The honourable member for Mégantic, l'érable Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, like all the other announcements from the Liberals, Canadians will soon be realizing it's all smoke and mirrors. Every time they make an announcement, Mr. Speaker, it just doesn't come true. But Canadian families, they are working harder than ever. But why are they getting poorer just the same? Why? Because this Liberal government is spending taxpayers' money as if there were no limit on the credit card, billions on failed programs. Families are spending incredible amounts just to feed and house themselves. Will he stop spending on his cronies and stop taking care of the real people? The Honourable Industry Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Indeed, my colleague just referred to good news. Good news here for more than 3,000 people who will be getting jobs thanks to this new partnership between Saab and Bombardier. We will finally have a surveillance aircraft not only for Canada and for the CAF, but also for the entire world. The United Arab Emirates, France, several other countries throughout NATO are interested in buying that aircraft that will finally be built in Canada by Canadians.
Member for Long Range Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, costly Liberal policies drive inflation up, forcing Canadians to pay more for gas, food and rent. Don't take my word for it. April stats prove it. Inflation, gas prices and food prices are all up, yet the Liberal Prime Minister keeps spending $290 million for the failed prescribed IT scandal, $200 million for a gravel space pad in a Liberal riding, $742 million for a failed gun grab. More costs, more taxes, more debt, more on the national credit card. This Prime Minister is just another costly Liberal with nothing to show for his waste. When will he stop?
Hear, hear.
Hear, hear. Honourable Government House Leader.
You know what Canadians are not talking about? Whatever is written by the Leader of the Opposition for that member. You know what they are talking about? The first ever long-term contract for liquid natural gas off our West Coast, a partnership with Indigenous peoples, a partnership that lasts, a partnership with our allies, and all before noon, Mr. Speaker, the first ever deal with Sweden to manufacture military aircraft here in Canada, 3,000 jobs. That's just before noon. We're just getting going.
The honourable member for Long Range Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians don't want empty promises and empty announcements. He can deflect, but the reality is rent has skyrocketed after years of costly Liberal housing failures. Energy prices rise because this Liberal government's identity is punishing Canadian energy and targeting regular families. Right. With this Liberal Prime Minister, it's more cost, more inflation, and more of the same. He's just another Liberal. Will he finally admit his tax and spend agenda has failed, stop using the credit card, and support the Conservative plan to make Canada affordable again?
The Honourable Minister of Fisheries and Oceans.
I have good news for that member. Almost $1 billion for small craft harvest. The member may not speak to her constituents. They speak to me. They are excited. They see this as an opportunity, and I invite the minister to speak to her constituents, or the member to speak to her constituents.
To describe a gullible listener, we used to say, I've got some swampland in Florida for you. But thanks to the Minister of Defence, now we can say a Canadian version. I've got a gravel pit in Nova Scotia for you. At a low cost of just $200 million, the Liberals are trying to build a spaceport. The problem is the company that's leasing it is paying just $13,000, and construction will only cost $70 million. So if the construction is $70 million and the lease is only $13,000, why are Canadians forking out $200 million?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, really good news. Today we announce our commitment to procure the Global Eye SABS airborne early warning control aircraft platforms. This investment will open new opportunities for Canadian workers, and it's projected to create 3,000 jobs in the Canadian aerospace and defence sector, Mr. Speaker. This is going to be a key resource for the Canadian Armed Forces to enhance our North American security by detecting and deterring threats across the Arctic and beyond. Mr. Speaker, we're just getting started.
The Honourable Member for York. The Honourable Member for York. Wait. I can't hear the Honourable Member. The Honourable Member for York-Durham.
Mr. Speaker, my colleague begged the Liberals to try and have some respect for this place and answer the questions. But that's the essence of the scam. It's just illusions. The Liberals have figured out how to turn a gravel pit into a money pit. It's more costs, more debt, all on the national credit card. If everything is above board, everything is hunky-dory, as the minister claims, why not table in the House the lease agreement? Give us the details. And while he's at it, maybe he could explain why it's Liberal insiders who lobbied for it, Liberal insiders who will benefit from it. So will the minister come clean today and give us a copy of the agreement?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, here's some facts. They don't want to hear them, but here are the facts. Enhanced recruitment up 61%, highest in 30 years. Biggest pay raises in a generation. Major infrastructure renewal on 33 bases. New rifles, new kit, new uniforms for women, 7,500 new housing units, 800 of which are under construction. Serious investments in Arctic offshore patrol ships, P-8 maritime patrol aircrafts, 11 new Sky Guardian drones, space-based polar communications, Arctic over-the-horizon radar. Mr. Speaker, we're just getting started.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, never would I have thought I would say these words, but when you have an environmental conscience, you kind of miss Justin Trudeau. And perhaps for other reasons, the Leader of the Opposition feels the same way. I would imagine the member for Laurier-Sainte-Marie feels some nostalgia. This is real backtracking. They have shown the door to a highly credible spokesperson in the area of the environment. Does the government actually understand that when it comes to climate betrayal, this is going far too far? The Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change. Mr. Speaker, I want to assure him that when you look at this side of the House, we have so many members here who are prepared and fighting for against climate change and for the environment. And when you look at the situation globally, we are world leaders. Just look at our nature strategy. We are world leaders when it comes to our methane regulations, global leaders with our international financing for climate, and we continue to do this work as a team. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, there is such a thing as climate change. You can fight against the effects of climate change, but not by abandoning the carbon tax, not by financing new oil pipelines, not by scrapping the protection of biodiversity and other measures, not by doing away with the caps. Will the government at some point start listening and correct its actual massive climate betrayal? Mr. Speaker, the Bloc Québécois leader really has no reason to lecture us given what he did in the Anticosti Islands. If he wants to talk about what we've done, we are leaders in protecting nature. We were in BC where we protected an area that is larger than PEI. We are continuing to do the work with our nature strategy. We have one of the cleanest electric grids in the world. We were going to double it with our electricity strategy. We'll do it with Hydro-Québec and our partners. We're continuing to do the work. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. I will remind this leader that there was no drilling on Anticosti Island, period. Now, the member for Laurier-Sainte-Marie attempted to change the government and Canada from the inside. He failed. Even though I commend him for his courage in these areas, he had little or no impact under the Carney government. Whereas the Environment Caucus and the Liberal side, the member knows we cannot name members in the House.
Ministre.
Apologies. The Prime Minister, the Environment Caucus in the Liberal Party says our job is not to talk about the environment or to protect it, but rather to support the Prime Minister. Whereas the member for Laurier-Sainte-Marie has left. Is there still an environmental conscience alive in the Liberal Party? The Honourable Minister, again, Mr. Speaker, we have a team here. On this side, we are united to build Canada, build it well, to protect the environment and to fight climate change. And what we're seeing is with the electricity strategy that we have one of the cleanest electricity grids in the world. I was discussing the matter with Hydro-Québec, and they asked us how we could help. I asked how we could help them build a better electric grid in the province, and that's what we're going to be doing with the investment tax credits. That's precisely what they need so that they can be sure that we will continue to fight climate change.
Member for Haldimand Norfolk.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians were promised that life would become more affordable if they trusted this Liberal government. Instead, families are falling further behind as the cost of everything keeps rising. After years of reckless spending, inflation, debt, and more taxes, this Liberal Prime Minister is proving more costly than Justin Trudeau. So how does the Liberal government justify spending $90 billion, which is more than their entire deficit, on the Alto Rail boondoggle in a transportation corridor that is already the most heavily serviced in Canada?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are tired of the podcasts, bizarre workout videos, and empty parking lot press conferences. They're tired of it. On this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, we're going to build the strongest economy in the G7. Abroad, we're signing trade deals that bring billions of dollars to our country. At home, we're cutting taxes. Time for them to put down the kettlebells, help us build Canada strong. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I would ask members to try and refrain from provocation. The Honourable Member for Haldimand Norfolk.
Mr. Speaker, I'm hearing from desperate Canadians who are frustrated that this Liberal government prioritizes wasteful projects over the needs of families. In Haldimand, Norfolk, people are crushed by the cost of gas, basic necessities, and the price of groceries. And they're choosing to pay their bills rather than putting food on the table. Now the government wants to spend $90 billion on a rail line that most people will never ever use, while Canadians are lining up at food banks just to survive. So tell me, which Liberal insider stands to profit from this tax?
I can't answer that, but the Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families, I'm sure, will answer.
The constituents I'm meeting in my riding who are talking about the changes in their life through the Canada Dental Care Plan. People who have never been able to get dental care, who have not been covered by plans for the first time in their lives being able to see the dentist. People with young children who have not been able to bring their children for dental care, now having coverage. And Mr. Speaker, let's talk about child care for a minute. Over 900,000 children benefiting from child care, and families in Ontario, that member's province, who are now seeing a savings above average $13,000 per child. These are all things they vote against, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Newmarket Aurora.
Canadians were billed $195,000 for in-flight catering by the Prime Minister for 3 trips. Scottish salmon fillet, sautéed beef with world-famous creamy sauce, and for dessert, luxury Normandy buttercups. Every dollar this Prime Minister spent on his elite palate was first taken from a hard-working Canadian. This Prime Minister means more costs, more taxes, more debt, and more on the national credit card. Will he cut out his fine dining and rein in his inflationary spending so Canadians can afford to eat?
There you go.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, when the Prime Minister travels, you know what happens? He brings back jobs, he brings back investment, he brings back opportunity for Indigenous people to participate with equity in projects, he brings back technology, he brings back expertise, he brings back military and industrial benefits to Canada. The Prime Minister travels, oh yes he does, and you know what he does? He brings back jobs and investment and energy to Canada.
The Honourable Member for Newmarket Aurora.
So the member saying that $195,000 for steak and fine wine is necessary for the Prime Minister to do his job? Shameful. In April alone, Canadians saw gas rise 28%, food rise 3%, hydro rise 20%. At a time like this, Canadians expect fiscal restraint because for them, food and shelter is more than 125% of their income. So if the Prime Minister really wants luxury Normandy buttercups, can he just put it on his own credit card instead of the backs of Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
And be proud of having a Prime Minister not only that is travelling across the world to bring back investment and jobs, but also that he's working in a very difficult environment across the world as the international rules order is shifting. That is what Canadians expect, that we are able to create jobs across this country. We've been able to create more than 70,000 jobs since the last fall and will continue to do so.
The Honourable Member for Brandon Souris.
Another month gone and another disastrous report card on Liberal affordability measures, Mr. Speaker. Food inflation is up, yet nobody on the Liberal benches can tell me their plan to increase food production. Rent is up despite a fourth housing bureaucracy presented as a silver bullet. And now gas prices have surged 28% in April, the largest monthly increase ever recorded. Liberals promised relief, but instead food, rent and fuel is further out of reach. Today they have an opportunity to bring down food and fuel prices by taking all the tax off all the fuel for the rest of the year. Will this costly Liberal Prime Minister and his get-along gang vote in favour today?
The Honourable Minister for Northern and Arctic Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Canadians voted in this new government to get results, and that's what we're doing. The member opposite has voted against every measure that we're taking to support Manitobans. We're investing in housing, infrastructure, aerospace. In fact, I just met with students from the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Union 256, and they're so excited about our Red Seal program and working hard to get that $5,000 bonus. So I don't understand why the member opposite keeps voting against these measures.
The Honourable Member for Brandon Souris.
In typical Liberal fashion, nothing about the fuel tax. Mr. Speaker, their half measure on fuel tax is just 3 months away from expiring. Do you know any Canadians who felt real relief? I sure don't. In fact, the only people I see waving the mission accomplished flag are people like that minister who are Liberals. Everyone knows that it'll take years to truly solve the Liberal inflation crisis, but the least these tired costly Liberals could do is give Canadians a real break on all their fuel taxes. Is the Liberal plan really to tell Canadians that their affordability crisis will be solved by the end of summer? Seriously? Why not take all the tax off all the fuel for the rest of the year and give Canadians some real relief today?
The Honourable Secretary of State. The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, this side of the House, we focus on affordability. They're focused on bluster. We just paused the consumer excise tax on gas. That's 10 cents a litre. Combine that with the cut.
Okay, we need to lower the decibels. We need to lower the decibels. I think it's better now, so the Honourable Secretary of State may continue.
Mr. Speaker, we cut the excise tax on gas. That was 10 cents a litre. We cut the consumer carbon tax. That was 18 cents a litre. That is 28 cents a litre for Canadians when they fill up at the pump. This side continues to vote against every affordability measure we have ever put forward. They do not have Canadians' interest at heart. We're going to focus on delivering affordability for Canadians on this side of the House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Windsor West.
Mr. Speaker, Windsor families are tired of being failed by this Liberal government. They're paying about 30 cents more per litre of gasoline than people across the river in Detroit. This Liberal Prime Minister is the same as the previous one. He's very expensive and has nothing to show for his spending. All we get from him is more costs, more taxes, more debt, and more on the national credit card. We Conservatives have a real plan. Canadian families are looking for relief. Let's provide them by removing all federal gas taxes for 1 year. No more half measures, Mr. Speaker. When will this government, Liberal government, get it done?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Labour.
Mr. Speaker, that member knows very well that we've taken a number of initiatives that have helped Windsor families, Mr. Speaker, and people in Windsor know that that member has voted against every one of those members, Mr. Speaker. But what we know is that it is time to invest and build, Mr. Speaker. Canada is building again. Today, we announced Canada's first European LNG agreement that will attract more than $30 billion in investment. We are building new nuclear, Mr. Speaker, in Ontario. Critical mineral projects in Quebec, like the Nouveau Mine project, and in the Prairies, major infrastructure across the country, Mr. Speaker, from Newfoundland to Labrador.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. With this vast understanding of Quebec, after having said the Battle of the Plains of Abraham was we don't know what, the Prime Minister said clearly that the majority with respect to sovereignty, the 50% plus one, is unclear. So I guess we should start by cancelling the 1995 referendum and starting all over. This time around, clearly, he should have just minded his own business, and the National Assembly of Quebec reminded him of that with a unanimous motion. There are about 170 members of the Liberal Party here and about 40 or so from Quebec.
The Honourable
Minister, Mr. Speaker, I can perhaps assist the Bloc Québécois member. I think the answer will be the same as earlier this week. I understand that the Bloc members are experts at dividing people, controversies that don't exist. We are squarely focused, as my colleagues have said, on issues that matter to Quebecers and Canadians. We seek to work with the government of Quebec, with businesses, with workers in Quebec and throughout the entire country. That remains our priority. And Mr. Speaker, things are going well. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Unanimously, the National Assembly doesn't seem to think that same thing. Some people may be for sovereignty. Some say maybe later. Some say no. But all Quebecers are convinced that they have the right to make their own decisions. 30 years after the shenanigans with the first referendum, is the Prime Minister saying that they should not count, that they could only... Can he not tell Quebecers that they really need to focus on their own will as Quebecers? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, once again, we understand that the Bloc Québécois is seeking controversy where there is none and more division. The Bloc leader knows full well, because we work with our colleagues from the Bloc and all parliamentarians to find solutions, such as against the tariff threat from the United States, to support businesses and workers throughout the country that are facing tariff threats that are absolutely unjustified. We will continue, Mr. Speaker, to do this work, and I certainly hope the Bloc Québécois will get on board on these important matters for Quebec. The Honourable Member for Bellechasse, Les Etchemins, Lévis. Mr. Speaker, this distress that's experienced is for real. The number of people seeking food assistance in my riding has jumped by 66% in just 3 years. The situation is so critical at these food banks that some organizations are warning they'll soon have to tighten their eligibility criteria and turn away hungry families. These increases are caused by this government's costly policies. When will this Prime Minister finally allow Canadians to pay their bills and feed their families? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Identity and Culture. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a great deal of respect for my colleague. We sit on the same committee and we have extraordinary exchanges. But what I am a bit confused about in this chamber when she speaks is that there seems to be a bit of a disconnect between what she defends in committee and what she's asking for in this chamber. This person is always supporting community organizations, women, and that's just not what I'm hearing here in this space. Sorry, I did not use the right title for the Parliamentary Secretary. My apologies. The Honourable Member for Bellechasse-les-Etchemins-Lévis. Mr. Speaker, this government's housing and inflation crisis is tearing families apart. Rents have jumped 3.6% in 1 year, marking a dramatic cumulative increase of 30.8% since 2021. Today, food insecurity is so severe that some Canadians must spend 120% of their income just to feed themselves and pay for housing. When will this Prime Minister put an end to his costly, out-of-control budgets and finally take the cost of living crisis seriously now? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister for Women and Gender Equality. Mr. Speaker, we take the housing crisis very, very seriously. We have a federal agency that's been established, Build Canada Homes. Under this agency, housing, affordable housing, is the government's priority. We understand a large percentage of revenues is focused on housing. In my riding, certainly that is the priority for the government. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Portneuf-Jacques-Cartier. Mr. Speaker, I have met with many residents of Portneuf-Jacques-Cartier in recent weeks, and the situation is glaringly obvious. The cost of living has become unaffordable. Our seniors and our youth are paying a heavy price for the impacts of this Liberal government. For the past 10 years, the Liberals have tried different programs, but they aren't working. When you have to dip into your savings just to eat, that's alarming. When is this Liberal Prime Minister going to stop recklessly spending on Canadians' credit cards to make life more affordable for everyone? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, my colleague for Hochelaga just asked a very relevant question. What is an inflationary expense? The Conservatives say that if you spend, you worsen things for Canadians. But actually, people depend on dental care. They actually depend on the child care benefit. They depend on the GST rebate for groceries and essentials. And yet, these members seem to stand against these measures. We don't understand. Do they have a plan to help people? Or is this just smoke and mirrors from the opposition?
The Honourable Member for Portneuf-Jacques-Cartier. Well, what's really unfortunate here is that the Liberals are completely disconnected from reality. The member across the way should have listened to my question. In 2014, there was a world energy crisis. The cost of oil was $100 a barrel, but fuel only cost $1.38. That was under the Harper government. Today, oil is at the same price per barrel, but gas costs 40 cents more per liter. That's because of Liberal policies. Can this Prime Minister take the bull by the horns and create measures to help Canadians? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, we're not going to take advice from these Conservatives because they keep standing up and asking the same old question. I respect my colleague, but he should stand up to vote for C30, legislation that will put more money in the pockets of 12 million Canadians. Plenty of people in his riding will be happy to get that money. Is he going to help people in his riding? They are watching today, and they are waiting for their MP to stand up for them. The honourable member for Chicoutimi-Le-Fjord. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals use any old statistic to try to pull the wool over our eyes and make us think that things are going well, but actually there's more taxes, more spending, more problems. When I go to my riding, I'm constantly hearing that people are having to make difficult choices on how to put food on the table or about where to live. They never had to make these kinds of choices before. When will this government finally stop making Canadian families pay the bill for this government's costly mismanagement? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, my colleague already explained that Housing Canada, Build Canada Homes is there for affordable housing. We're making sports affordable to make sports accessible for people. We are creating new programs for our society to cut taxes, to help people. On this side of the House, we are taking strong action to help people in our ridings. In my riding, Thérèse de Blainville, I can say that organizations in my riding are appreciative of our programs.
Member for Mississauga East Cooksville.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians watch with pride as over 250 Canadian athletes competed this year in the Milano Cortina Olympic and Paralympic Games. And nothing, Mr. Speaker, makes us prouder than cheering on Team Canada. So can the Secretary of Sport tell us how the Government of Canada is supporting these incredible athletes?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Sport.
Speaker, I'd like to thank my friend and colleague from Mississauga East Cooksville because he knows what it takes to be an Olympic medalist and an Olympian. He has raced the marathon at the Olympic Games for Team Canada. So thank you very much for him. Today we welcome the 2026 Team Canada Olympic and Paralympic athletes to Parliament Hill, Mr. Speaker. Every time Team Canada competes, they represent our country and wear the maple leaf. It makes us proud. Our world-class teams and athletes deserve a world-class sports system, and that's why we're building Canada strong from playground to podium by investing over $755 million into the Canadian sports system over the next 5 years to improve access to higher sport participation, host more international sporting events, and support our incredible national team athletes.
The honourable member for Red Deer.
Mr. Speaker, 74,000, 3/4 the size of Red Deer. That's the number of rejected refugees still in Canada getting luxury, taxpayer-funded health care that Canadians can only dream of. They're supposed to be deported, not given better care than those paying for it. Worse, this Liberal government has lost track of 28,000 of these fraudsters. They vanished into our communities and still billing Canadians. Where are these 28,000 fraudsters? And when will this Liberal government deport them?
The Honourable Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As I have said yesterday, this is a temporary program for health coverage. It covers essential services. The cost is tied to volumes, and the good news is that they don't want to hear is that we brought the volumes down by 59%. Because of a Liberal budget, because of a Liberal bill, and as the PBO had said this week, we will save taxpayers over $400 million annually.
The Honourable Member for Riding Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Liberal House Leader defended luxury health benefits for asylum claimants that his own government rejected, stating they are, quote, the most vulnerable people on earth. Really? Well, how about William Amona Russell, the rejected asylum claimant who raped 2 women and murdered a 20-year-old girl while still in Canada? Yet under the Liberals, criminals like him remain eligible for luxury health benefits like physiotherapy and home care. Shame. Do the Liberals still believe these rejected asylum claimants deserve better health benefits than Canadians?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we believe that criminals should be in jail. We believe that criminals should be prosecuted to the full.
The Honourable Government House Leader from the top, please.
Mr. Speaker, we believe that criminals should be prosecuted and jailed to the full extent of the law. We also believe that Canada has an obligation under international treaties to accept vulnerable people from war-torn and ravaged areas around this world, and every single Canadian I know, except perhaps that member, would give care to a vulnerable human being who arrives on Canadian shores and needed our care.
The honourable member for Aurora Oak Ridges,
Speaker, the
Richmond
Liberal
Hill.
asylum system is a dumpster fire. The minister told Canadians they stopped paying for asylum seekers' accommodations, but they are now simply bankrolling municipalities to do it for them. The parliamentary budget officer has found that nearly 74,000 failed asylum claimants are also still receiving luxury health benefits. After a year, this Prime Minister's immigration system looks like the anniversary edition to the last 10. Will the Prime Minister stand up, admit his Justin Trudeau-inspired immigration policies have failed, and finally end the luxury health benefits for failed asylum claimants?
The Honourable Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I know that member and I respect him, and I know he knows that I am here to manage migration responsibly, to strengthen our rural communities. That is exactly what we are doing. Our asylum claims are down 59%. The PBO confirmed with us that because of the measures that we have taken by copay, by Bill C-12, we will be reducing $400 million annually those costs. We will continue to protect those that are in need of protection. Thank you.
The honourable member for Calgary Nose Hill.
Mr. Speaker, a non-citizen on a student visa organized major theft from an Alberta store not once, but 14 times.
Wow.
They were convicted of a major crime under Canada's Criminal Code, which carries a punishment of up to 10 years in prison. They should have been deported, as the law requires, but today we found out that they weren't. The National Post reported that a judge gave them a sweetheart deal, house arrest, so that they could avoid deportation. By voting against our bill to ensure non-citizen criminals don't get sweetheart sentences, the Liberals sent a message that it's okay for non-citizens to commit major crimes. Why?
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, that member knows that there is nothing in the Immigration Act that allows any judges to discount any sentences. She also knows that Canadian or not, no one can commit a crime on Canadian soil without impunity, including those that are on asylum, including anyone else. We have brought in measures, we have brought in criminal bills. They keep avoiding voting with us, so we expect them to let us, in the next couple of weeks,
The honourable member for Calgary Nose Hill.
Well, the minister, she's right. There isn't anything in the criminal code. That's why we put forward a bill to put something in the criminal code to stop this. And yet, when she had an opportunity to sway the Justice Minister to support the bill, the man who created the massive Liberal dumpster fire that she's perpetuating, she said, no, it's fine. Today, the Liberals are defending this abysmal practice. This is divisive post-nationalism that the Liberals have put forward for years. The respect for the rule of law is a minimum requirement for anybody in our country, and when they erode that, they erode our national identity. Every normal Canadian agree with this. Why don't they?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, the issue that the member raises has been an issue in Canada for a number of years. She should know well, as the Supreme Court of Canada in 2013 actually ruled on this specific issue. What's interesting about the timeline, Mr. Speaker, of that decision is that she was sitting in the federal cabinet at the time and chose to do absolutely nothing about it. For our part, Mr. Speaker, we are in the midst of launching the most serious set of criminal law reforms to strengthen the criminal code that this country has seen in generations. Regardless of your immigration status, if you commit a serious crime, you should be met with a serious penalty, and where a court deems appropriate, that can and should include deportation.
Well done, Sean.
The honourable member for Kamloops, Thompson Nicola.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister called Beijing Canada's greatest security threat.
That was during the election. Despite this, within a year, he signed a memorandum of understanding with Communist China as it relates to security matters. I have been asking for that memorandum of understanding for over 5 months. The minister, the Prime Minister have refused to disclose it. When will they produce the memorandum of understanding that was signed with Communist China?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, let's be clear. Canada has had an MOU with China on combating crime in various forms since 2010. These have never been made public. As with the potential release of any sensitive national security document, we're carefully following the advice of our intelligence and law enforcement agencies. We will continue to work collaboratively with international and law enforcement partners to combat transnational criminal networks to keep Canadians safe. And Canada will always be guided by 3 principles, Mr. Speaker, including the rule of law, protection of Canadians, and the defense of Canada.
The Honourable Member for Kamloops Thompson Nicola.
Mr. Speaker, if the minister wants to talk about history, let's talk about history. When did the Prime Minister in the past call Beijing Canada's greatest security threat and then just within a year sign a memorandum of understanding? Never before had we heard stories of foreign interference to the same degree. Never before had a Prime Minister said exactly what he said. So why is he unprepared to shine the light, Mr. Speaker? These Liberals don't want to shine the light. They don't want to inform Canadians. Inform Canadians, will they do it today? Yes or no?
Well done. The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, let me reiterate that we've had some form of an agreement on safety and security since 2010 with China. They have never been made public, Mr. Speaker, including under the opposition who were in government at that time. We will continue to work in collaboration with law enforcement, with our international partners to ensure the safety and security of Canadians, Mr. Speaker. We are a country of the rule of law, and we'll be guided to protect Canadians and to defend Canada's democracy and sovereignty, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Cambridge.
Mr. Speaker, 1 year ago, Canadians didn't feel safe on their own streets. Now, after a year of this same old Liberal government, they're afraid in their own homes. In Cambridge, people are being attacked where they sleep. A 60-year-old senior was assaulted in his own home. A homeowner had his wallet taken while they also tried to steal his car. In the middle of the night, a woman was sexually assaulted by a stranger who broke into her home. This is what happens when repeat offenders are let back out instead of kept behind bars. Canadians are paying the price. How much worse does it have to get before these Liberals stop letting criminals cycle through the system and start keeping Canadians safe in their own homes?
Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, we've been working aggressively to put forward many pieces of legislation, a record number, over 8 pieces of legislation in this House that address these issues, that address public safety. More changes to the Criminal Code of Canada than any other government has made. We're strengthening bail laws, and we're making sentences longer, Mr. Speaker. But the provinces also have to do their part. And what we've heard is that many Crown attorneys dismiss charges, and even to the point where we've seen prisoners accidentally released. Mr. Speaker, the provinces too have to resource their courtrooms.
The Honourable Member for Cambridge.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal minister just told Canadians to feel safer because they proposed a Band-Aid for a system they broke. Canadians don't need another paper promise. They need to be safe in their own homes. The Liberal government softened crime laws, let repeat offenders walk free and come right back through Canadians' front doors. Police are forced to arrest the same offenders again and again because this system keeps letting them out. Criminals aren't getting the message and getting bolder because they know they won't face real consequences. A system that won't keep them behind bars isn't protection, it's failure. It's like putting a screen door on a submarine, completely useless. When will they shut down this revolving door and start protecting Canadians?
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, we're strengthening penalties, and we're giving law enforcement the tools they need to catch criminals. Mr. Speaker, just last week, Peel Regional Police arrested over 65 individuals connected to organized retail crime. These are criminals who were going out and looting our small businesses, Mr. Speaker, over 65 people. And we are working to make sure that bail laws are strengthened. But you know who's been getting in the way? The Conservatives,
right.
Mr. Speaker.
That's right.
Time and time again, police chiefs across this country are telling us that they need the tools in C-22, and the Conservatives took away.
L'honorable député de Rivière.
The Honourable Member for Rivière-des-Mille-Îles. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Canadians.
On va s'organiser là pour.
Let's just ensure that the member for Rivière-des-Mille-Îles can ask a question. The Honourable Member, please. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Canadians, watch with pride as over 250 Canadian athletes competed this year at the Milano Cortina Olympic and Paralympic Games. Nothing makes us prouder than cheering on Team Canada. Can the Secretary of State for Sport tell us how the Government of Canada is supporting these incredible athletes? Thank you. The Honourable Secretary of State, Sport. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, we're paying tribute to our athletes, please. The Honourable Secretary of State, please. I'll ask him to repeat his response from the beginning. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, we are welcoming the Team Canada 2026 Olympic and Paralympic athletes to Parliament Hill. Every time Team Canada competes and wear the maple leaf, we couldn't be prouder. Our world-class teams and athletes deserve a world-class sports system. We are building Canada strong from playground to podium by investing over $750 million to strengthen the Canadian sports system. I'd like to congratulate all of Team Canada. Go Canada, go.
The Honourable Member for Moose Jaw Lake Centre, Lanigan.
Mr. Speaker, after much hype, the Minister of National Defence paraded the snowbirds in front of the media for all of Canada to see. Then he shamefully announced the snowbird team was grounded after the 2026 season, and the people behind him were losing their jobs. Which Liberal government was wrong? The one that spent $30 million to keep them flying, or the one that is prematurely grounding them? Both L3Harris and Magellan Aerospace, who inspected the jets, say the Tudors are safe to fly until 2030. Mr. Speaker, was the squadron ever asked the question if the team could fly till 2030?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, our government is taking action to ensure that Canadians can continue.
The Honourable Member for Louvain. The Honourable Member for Louvain should allow the Minister to answer the questions. The Minister can begin from the top. You didn't.
Mr. Speaker, our government is taking action to ensure that Canadians can continue to enjoy the iconic 9-plane snowbirds formation for generations to come, and this member knows that. Instead of hyping up things, why doesn't he work with us? We announced a commitment to procure the CT-157, the Pilatus C-21, that will serve both the future snowbirds team and pilot training. This new capability will be based at 15 Wing Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, and is expected to be operational by the latest the early 2030s. We intend to procure these aircraft quickly, and we will do so.
The Honourable Member for Moose Jaw Lake Centre, Lanigan.
Mr. Speaker, if they're safe to fly now, why aren't they safe to fly next year? The Liberal government took over a decade to sign the F-35 contract, which is now under review and delayed. If the snowbird replacement follows that timeline, the team won't fly again until the 2040s. For 55 years, the snowbirds have been a jet team. The replacement the minister has announced is a propeller aircraft. Who made the decision not to pick jets?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, what we won't do on this side of the House is take our lead from social media sites. What we will do is work with the Royal Canadian Air Force. We will listen to the experts there. That's exactly what we've done. And as the Air Force advances its air and space modernization efforts, we remain firmly committed to a future air demonstration capability that continues this proud legacy. Canadians across North America can look forward to the Snowbird's distinctive 9-plane formation for generations to come in an outstanding replacement plane.
The honourable member for Swift Current Grasslands.
Mr. Speaker, Stay for Rural Development, the only Liberal MP in Saskatchewan, called the grounding of the Snowbirds a potential loss.
That wasn't provocative and it created disorder. So we'll let the member start from the top, please.
Mr. Speaker, so the Secretary of State for Rural Development, the only Liberal MP in Saskatchewan, called the grounding of the Snowbirds. He called the grounding of the Snowbirds the potential loss of 80 jobs, I'll quote, a very, very joyous and happy event. But given his track record for 26 years as an MLA, including 8 as a cabinet minister for the NDP, this isn't surprising. He destroyed our province for a generation, and he is living up to that record so far in his first term in Ottawa. The Snowbirds are a Canadian icon, so why are the Liberals not keeping their promise and keeping this national symbol?
Hear, hear.
Before we start, I would remind the member to go through the chair, please.
Much, Mr. Speaker. More Liberals from Saskatchewan are coming, Mr. Speaker, so the cavalry is on its way. We'll take no lessons from the Conservatives, Mr. Speaker, over there. And why? Because they did nothing for 10 long years. But since their absence from Saskatchewan, coming over here to do nothing, what happened back home, Mr. Speaker? Headline, Saskatchewan value-added agricultural revenue reached a record $8.4 billion, which is twice than 10 years ago when you guys left Saskatchewan. So we will not take any lessons from you guys.
Yeah, I didn't live in Saskatchewan. I never left it. Yeah, it is. It's a great province, but I never lived in Saskatchewan and I never left it. Okay, so the honourable member for Cardigan.
Mr. Speaker, that's a hard act to follow. But as we are dealing with climate change and it continues to increase the frequency and severity of emergencies like flooding, wildfires and storms, it is critical that Indigenous communities are recognized as equal partners in emergency preparedness and response efforts that keep community members safe. Can the Minister of Indigenous Services update this House on the historic agreement signed with Abequit First Nation and the government of PEI, and how our government is advancing Indigenous-led approaches to emergency management and community resilience in PEI and across
the Honourable Minister of Indigenous Services.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the honourable member for that important question. We have just signed a historic, first of its kind, multilateral emergency management agreement between Abequit First Nation, the government of PEI, and our new government. I want to thank Chief Gould and his council for hosting this important event. This agreement recognizes Abequit First Nation as a full and equal partner in emergency management. It strengthens planning, preparedness, and coordination in regionally specific ways that are culturally appropriate and responsive to community needs. Working in partnerships with Indigenous people is something that I'm proud of.
The honourable member for Terra Nova, the Peninsula.
After this Prime Minister took office, China announced a 25% tariff on Canadian seafood. A few months later, I was sitting right here watching the Liberals brag about how they sold out the automotive industry, allowing thousands of Chinese spy cars on our streets to save the seafood industry. But that deal only covered 2 species. Other seafoods, including sea cucumber, is still at 25% tariffs. Will this Prime Minister go to the wharves, speak with the Canadians whose jobs are at risk, to justify this fishy deal?
The Honourable Minister of Fisheries and Oceans.
Speaker, I want to reassure this member that I meet regularly with harvesters on the wharf and here in Ottawa and across the country. to market. I have colleagues who are doing the same thing. I'm going to ask this member if he is going to support small craft farmers, almost $1 billion in support, that supports this industry. I will be watching how we vote.
The honourable member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Later this afternoon, we will hear the honourable member from Laurier-Sainte-Marie address this place one last time. Je le remercie.
I'd like to thank him. I'd like to congratulate him for his integrity and courage.
Environment, will she find the courage to fight for climate? Will she find the courage to fight for our future?
Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to assure this House and all Canadians that I and this entire team of people in the Liberal benches fight every day against climate change. We fight for good, strong climate policy that is unifying, pragmatic, and it will work. We are taking action. We are protecting nature. We are protecting the environment. We're going to continue to do that work because we know that that is what's best to build a strong Canada.
I wish to draw the attention of members to the presence in the gallery of 3 delegations. Commonwealth parliamentarians hosted by the Canadian branch of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, and Andrew Parsons, President of the International Paralympic Committee, and the recipients of the 2026 Terry Fox Humanitarian Award.